Afternoon, good evening. I hope everyone's doing well today. There we go. There's one. Let me see if I can find me over here too. Oh, turn my volume off. There we go. Oh, folding laundry. I actually save my laundry and I fold it when I'm doing, I watch YouTube videos while folding my laundry just to give me something to do because folding laundry is boring. It's very, very boring. Hi, Ronnie. Hi, Ladybug. Oh, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you could catch us live today. We are going to be chatting and sewing, nothing overly exciting. You know, no tutorial type thing. I shouldn't say not exciting because anytime we get to sew together is always exciting. Hi, Marie. So for those of you watching the replay, this is right now, it's like 3 minutes before the live is actually set to go up at noon. I like to just come in here and get started. Hi, Sue. Hi, Jody. Hi, Susan. Just to say hi to everyone, give everyone time to come in, give them those few extra moments, be a little chit-chatty. It's a nice, fun little community that we can all just say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hi, how you doing, what you doing? Oh, I turned my iron on, so we're going to hear some steam and some beeping going on. Today, well, I don't know. I don't normally put my machine on it, but I have my pressing mat, I need my cutting mat and my machine. Now, I could put my machine a little bit further. Normally, it's over to the right of the table, and then it would, you know, give myself, boy, I don't have words today. Over in this corner, I have my pressing mat, my big one set up on a desk, and that's where I normally do my ironing and pressing and such. And I sew at the end of this table, and this is where I sit down to do my cutting, or I do my computer work and stuff here. My sewing machine has little rubber feet, I believe. Yeah, it's got some rubber feet and some plastic, so I don't know if it's actually going to cause any damage, but this is I need to use my other side of the mat because this one's got so much cutting and damage type into it. I've used it so much that there's only small areas that are still beneficial. Right, we gotta have the beep. Almost all the videos have the beeps. Yeah, I have used up the center of my mat because no matter how much I try, I always end up cutting right in the center. So most of this, the inner square and the next square, there's all like not much white left to it. There's a lot of just, I like the Fiskars mats and I've always had these, but my last one lasted me over 10 years. This one I've had less than I've been here on YouTube because you guys told me how to exchange it. And I do a lot of cutting, yes, but not a crazy amount. And it just seems to, okay, I don't give my cutting mat a bath like everyone recommends, but it just seems to get cuts in it too quick on this one. I don't know. It could just totally be me. Maybe it's my rotary cutter blades or something like that. I did buy some generic blades, but yeah, this machine is pretty heavy. And it's like, oh yeah, it's full metal. This is a Juki, and I wouldn't normally put it on my mat, but this side is not very good anyways. I'm just gonna use these bottom corners here when I cut up my little scraps and stuff like that when we're working on the crumb blocks. So I'm like, okay. Hello everyone popping in. Hi Lori. Now I have 3 Olga mats that are really large and you can connect them so that they're like bigger than this table. And they're, because that's the green one, right? And it's really kind of a rough material and it seems to, but Sue, this is already a replacement from Fisher's once already. So I don't know. I probably will send them an email and talk to them about it. But it just doesn't seem to be as utmost quality as it used to be. So I don't know. Hello. I probably asked you all this time, or I think you were new last time. Debbie? Devi? Sorry if I say your name wrong. Once you tell us, we'll get it right after that. I see a lot of people in videos put their sewing machines right on their mat, and it doesn't seem to cause too much of a problem. Well, Jody, you should just sew up a whole bunch of masks, and when you have time, and that way you have a stash of them, so when people ask for them, you can just go, okay, here, this is what you choose from. No, if you're not supporting me, you're not paying for them, you're not giving me the fabric, you get to choose from what I made. So here's a nice variety, you get to choose. That's what I do. I still haven't made myself any masks either. First time was right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So what are we going to do today? Today, yeah, Sue, they'll replace those, no problem. They replace the gardening tools, they replace all that. Oh, well, see, this is one of the things I started to do with my husband and my kids. All black socks or all white socks, there's nothing special about them. They have, every sock matches every other sock. So I don't have to worry about matching up this blue sock with that pink heeled sock and that gray striped and then this color and that color. All the socks are the same, it doesn't matter. Exactly, Ronnie. If I'm doing you a favor and I'm taking the time out of my day and using my fabric and my elastic or whatever I'm using, then you just be thankful that I'm giving you something that I made and I'm taking the time out. I'm giving you a choice. You can choose from all of these, but yeah. I try to have some plain black ones and some simple solid colors and then some fun ones for the girls and some fun ones for the guys. But most times the guys just want a black one, so it's good. Yep, Joe, we're going to do some mindless sewing today. Oh, yeah, well. Yes, they do replace them, Lori. There's somewhere on their website that you can go and contact them. You have to tell them what you have and send them a picture. And it was a quick and simple process. I think I probably did it. I did it while Rob was still alive. So sometime in 2019 in the first half of it. And they replaced it, no problem. Special orders, I don't mind every now and then, but yeah. So any tool by Fiskars they have a lifetime warranty on it. I don't know if there's a second time replacement on it since I've only had this for about 1.5 years or so, but yeah, I'll check. So what we're going to do today is I grabbed out some bins of some scraps, some that y'all sent me, some from my stash, and we are just going to sew some crumb blocks. And I thought we just sit and chat today and everyone can have a nice relaxing hour or so. We're going to sew some crumb blocks. So work on whatever you need to, whether it's a sewing project, if you want to knit or crochet, do some embroidery, or unfortunately Stephanie's doing her laundry. But at least by the time we're done chatting, she'll be so busy chatting with us, the time will go by fast and her laundry will be done and she won't realize it. Oh, see, it's heavy. I didn't put it on the mat to slide it around because it's going to be on top of, I didn't put it on a quilted placemat type thing because it's sitting on the mat today. Oh, well, that's true. Sorting by usage is a good idea. The guys in my family tend to lose their socks, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. All my socks match. I make sure they go in the dryer together. They come out together. I do have a missing sock pile that has 2 socks in it that I have no idea where they went to. Hello, Florabella from Portugal. No problems, Becky. We just barely going to get started. We're going to talk a little bit about crumbs. I didn't think about it this morning, but I'm going to come back later and I'll put in a link in the the description box below this video for my crumb block series, where at the end I have the picture you should be seeing at the beginning of this video was of my curtains. I had a different picture set up this morning, but I guess it disappeared. I've been having problems with my internet and with my Verizon internet, and then I had problems with this, that, and the next thing, so it's one of those days. If I disappear and I don't come back right away, don't worry. Something here blew up and the internet died on me, but we should be okay. We're not going to have problems. What we're going to do is we're going to sew a little crumb blocks. You guys can talk about anything you want. If you have some questions for me, Just, if you can, do at RsIslandCrafts. It gives it a big yellow highlight or a pink highlight for me. Otherwise, just do all capitals or something. And if I miss it, maybe one of the moderators will yell at me a few times, but I've got it all set up. I'm going to try to make sure I keep looking up. No, Stephanie, I haven't done it yet because I want to do an unboxing video. I wanted to sew with it today, but Friday I spent so much time sewing the crumbs. By the time I got into the afternoon, I was too sore and too tired to be intelligent in a video. And then this morning, I didn't want to get really involved in doing a video, and with the way my phone's been acting, I didn't want to take up too much space in the memory or anything, and I didn't want to cause problems with the live. So this afternoon, if not tomorrow morning, I'm going to record an unboxing, and then I will put it up whenever the video is ready to go live, and you guys will see it. Then I'll get to sew on. But I will show you one thing I bought. When I put up the unboxing, I'll put up the links to everything I bought. But with a second machine, I did decide to go ahead and I bought 100 bobbins. They were really reasonably priced. I think I might have paid $8 something for it. I know it was under $10, and on Amazon it was free shipping with Prime. I got it the very next day. These are nice and clear. Some of the ones I bought in the past are a little bit cloudy. They're strong. I can't easily break them. Some people said that they had 2 or 3 broken when they purchased these. And I think when you're buying 100 of them and you're buying something generic like this, you take your chances. I'm sure I'm going to love that brother. I loved my last brother, and I love my Juki. As I said, I just need to have something. So Juki's got to go in for a spa day, and we only have one machine repair shop that I'm aware of that does this type of machine. And then usually when I took a machine into him a couple of years ago, it took him over 2 weeks. So I'm going to guess anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks for a spa day for the Juki. And I can't go that long without sewing. We had a little cold snap come through. It rained yesterday afternoon, and the temperatures dropped over 15 degrees in like less than an hour. Yesterday it was in the mid 80s, and today we're going to hit 70 degrees. But in true Florida form, tomorrow it's going to be back into the 80s. So I went and got 100 of them because I thought, why not? I like to take every spool of thread I have and have at least 1 or 2 bobbins full of the thread, because when I'm switching and I'm doing projects and I have to change my thread 3 or 4 times, I don't like to take the time to wind up a new spool, a new bobbin of thread. It just infuriates me. I won't sew if I have to do it too often. So I like to have a bunch of those ready to go. And my whites, blacks, and brown neutrals, I like to have a few of them ready to go too. I'm sorry, I'm reading it. I don't know, Marie. I guess it all depends on where you're buying it from too. It's from a I don't know if it was from the Brothers Company or something like that, but it's an older machine, as you already know. There's a new model out, a 7000i. So I don't know why I think they're just clearing out the warehouse. I think if I remember correctly, it's Amazon has it in their warehouse and they ship it. So I think it's something Amazon owns, so that they're clearing it out. I am down in Cape Coral, Florida, just a bit south of Tampa. So that's what I did. So I really splurged. I had 100 of them before, but I wound up a whole little bit when I was doing all of my crumbs and strings before. And I think I put them in a container somewhere and misplaced them. So it was, I know it's not good to just keep buying things, but I decided to buy more bobbins because I haven't been able to find any of my old ones, and I keep running out. And a lot of them have been crumbling. The ones that I had from back in the early 2000, when I started sewing, maybe 2002, 2005, they were all, you can see where they're all dry rotted and crumbly. So every time I touched them, they would just break apart in my hand. So it was time to buy some new ones. Now I'm going to call this crumb sewing, but a lot of times people will argue that it's not really crumb sewing. Let me show you some of the blocks that I have here. One of you generous people was making crumb quilts at one point, and she said, I've had enough of the crumb blocks. I can't take it anymore. I'm done. Robin, please take my scraps. I said, okay, I'll take your scraps. No problem. I love to sew with them. So some of them have these little itty bitty bits. That's actually Shrek fabric, which is mine. But you'll see a lot of small little bits like this, and crumb quilting is even smaller. So you can have really small pieces. 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch fabric and stuff. I don't like to deal with it that much. I don't mind a whole lot, and I don't mind if I put it in and I start cutting it up and it makes it smaller, but I prefer to do more of a scrappy crumb block or log cabin where I have some pieces that are like this. Maybe I might have some that are sewn together already that I'll put in like that, but I don't like to use, I like things that are more square and rectangle-ish. They don't need to be an exact rectangle 2x4. They can be a little bit curved and wonky and stuff, but I like to have straight edges. I like to deal with those types of things. So I have my bin. I thought I'd get ahead of us yesterday. So I have my bin of all my little bits, little chunks, little strings and stuff like that. These are all the little small blocks that we're going to, after I get going a little bit and show you how I start them out, I'll show you how I go ahead and start putting them together. Rather work with scraps than anything else. So what I was thinking, you guys, I know I drive some of you crazy when I bounce back and forth in conversations, but if I see a question or a comment, I want to answer it right away. I don't have someone else with me to either answer the questions for you or chit chat while I'm talking. It's just me here, me and my scraps. But what I'm thinking is, I've done a lot of scrap videos in the past, and then we started making smaller projects, which technically are kind of made from scraps, but they're not scrappy projects. So I'm going to try to make at least one tutorial a month that is truly scraps. Like we're going to take these crumb blocks, and we're going to make them in a variety of sizes, and then in a live stream in March, I'm going to show you how to do something different with these and how you can use them up instead of just sewing a block to a block to a block, which you can do. I have my crumb curtains where I just made them all into 6.5-inch blocks, sewed them all together, and I'm done. You guys can do that easily. We've already talked about that in the past. As I said, there'll be a link in the description. After the live is all done, I'll pop that in. But I want to show a little bit more creativity of, I don't make that many quilts, so I thought, well, maybe we can do different things. And yes, you can just make a tote bag and sew all of your crumbs and your scraps together. But what if we do it a little more creatively? What if we mix in some regular quilt blocks, or we make some quilt blocks out of our scraps, so we add some solids and stuff, so we can just have, like, once a month we can have a scrappy day, and maybe I'll pick one day of the month that we'll do it. I don't have it set up yet. I need to do some videos. I'm actually going to run out of videos in February, so I need to get recording some more next week. And maybe I'll do like the first Friday, the last Friday, or just a random Friday where you guys are going to get a scrappy video. And then we're going to keep making more things. I've had a request for the little snap wallets. Now I can't show you a whole bunch of it because it's a paid for pattern, but I'll put a link down below to the PDF where you can get it for, I could be lying, but I think it's only like $3 for the PDF, so you can download it. And then I'll do a tutorial on an easy way to sew it together. I do need to make a couple more just to verify that the thought idea in my head is going to work for you guys, and then I'll do a tutorial on it. But you'll need to purchase the pattern in order to get the cutout of the shape of the wallet, because while you could just go ahead and make a square wallet, I really like, where's the shape? I really like the shape and how it is. It looks like a little purse. So it has these little angled edges, so it's a nice little purse looking thing. So everything just curves in nicely. You can try to figure that out on your own if you want, but the pattern is so inexpensive, sometimes it's nice just to support the designer. But I think I've come up with a little bit of a shortcut to make it just a little bit easier. The process that I did was fine, but I found that I struggled in a couple spots in making everything look the way I wanted it to look. Oh, I love scraps. I missed something already, didn't I? Oh yeah, the Scrappy Ladybug, the Scrappy and the Crumb videos were very, very popular. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay. I will also, I've been saving up, I did sell a couple of the flat rate envelopes, but I've also been saving up scraps and I've been just trying to fill them up. There's some larger pieces and some smaller pieces and stuff. So I'm going to start filling up these small flat rate priority boxes and I'm going to get them as stuffed full as I possibly can. There's plenty of room in here to put more. And then I'll go ahead and list these in my Etsy shop also, so that anyone who's looking for a little extra scraps and you want them for like crumb blocks, I try to keep it very affordable since it's really fabric that is not things that I'm going to use right now. So I just want like the shipping and a little bit of extra for my time for constantly saving everything. Thank you guys. I really love the wallets and I'll be making more to put more in the shops. And Sue's always accumulating. So, all right, so let's get to the crumb blocks. When we're going to be making this for our project in March, you guys can make your scrappy blocks, you can make log cabins, you can make crumb blocks, you can make string blocks, make them any way you want. We aren't going to be sewing them together. I'm going to show you a way to do something fun with them. Like I said, I don't want to give up the surprise yet. I want you to just have a little fun sewing your scraps. Plus, I don't have an example. Once I get an example, I'll show you guys and I'll say, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. And then well, Maria, I do some things for a few people. I have a couple friends on Facebook that don't do PayPal either, and what they've been doing is they've been sending me a check, and then once the check clears, I send them, like I've made masks for people, so I've sent them the masks after the check is cleared. I generally tend to make things ahead of time because if they don't want the mask, someone else will. And if you want the scraps, they're just going to sit there and I'll hold them for you. And then once the check clears, I send it right out. So you usually have everything within a week's time anyways. Yeah, I always work with everyone some way or another. But we're going to make our blocks. You can make them all 6.5 inches. We're going to make, the request was to make a placemat first. So that's what we're going to make the very first time. As I said, when I get the example made up, I'll show you guys what it looked like. If you want to make something larger like a lap quilt, but you want to kind of have this fun and funky, I want you to be happy with what you're going to make. So either you're going to enjoy your crumb blocks and turn them into a project on their own, or save them for a future tutorial that I do, and just have fun sewing your scraps today. Or you might like what I'm going to show up. I'll give you a little hint. It has to do with circles. We're going to be doing something with circles. So your crumb blocks can be any size you want. You can make them in various sizes. I don't think, let me see, what does 2.5 inches look like? Well, you could make them 2.5 inches if you want, all the way up to, depending on the size of your project. But I would say for the placemat, I would stick with nothing larger than maybe a 9.5 inch block. I think 12 inches would take up most of your placemat. But if you want to do it on a quilt or something, then 12 inches would be fun. Making 48 for a table runner. Oh yeah, table runner would be fun. So if, like I said, if you like what we're doing, great. And if not, you can always use your crumbs in a different way. All right, let's get started. So my options here is some of the blocks that I made yesterday. I just took 2 of my little small pieces of fabric. You can match them up and say, okay, these are probably 1.5 inches. I can put them together. Or I can lay one down on top of the other. And if there's a little bit left over, like this one has got... one piece is about 1/2 inch longer than the other, so I can go ahead and just sew this down here and stop there, and I can trim that off after. So that's one way. I do use a 1/4 inch seam, and today I'm using black thread. One of you people again generously shared some thread with me. It's 100% polyester. So I like to have my cotton thread for certain projects, but this is Coats & Clark, and I actually was planning on picking some up anyways that I love. I take a Sharpie marker, and on my little bobbin, I just put a little blue mark on it, and I keep it in a special bobbin container so that I know that this is polyester thread, and this is cotton thread, and this is silk thread, so that everything will work out really well. I keep it all separated. So I'm using black even though I have light colored squares. Sometimes I use bright neon yellow, sometimes I use brown or purple. Whatever thread that is the least amount on a spool that maybe I want to get rid of, that I can't use for quilting a quilt, Same thing with my bobbins. I will, even if I have to change out 15 bobbins, I just keep a little small container here with me. And I can, since mine's a drop down top load bobbin thing, it's easy for me to pop them in and out as they run out. Because I don't like to take that last 15 rounds or a yard of thread off. Oh, I really want to get it. We're going to do some paper piecing soon too. Maybe not an owl. That's a little bit too much for me. Oh, Jody. Poor Jody. So that's what we're going to, oh, I know why we put the mat underneath here to do the volume. Ay, ay, ay. So that's what I do with my smallest scraps. I just go ahead and stitch 2 of them together. Look, I didn't make any old lady grunting sounds very much, at least. These machines, they have a solid metal motor, so they're very heavy. Okay, so that's what I do. I'll just go through and maybe I'll take a whole bunch of them. Sometimes I'll put them end to end like this just to get a variety. I don't want all of my blocks to look the same, whether it's a fabric or it's the shape. And then the other thing I do is I just take a long strip. I have one, this one's 1.5 inches. This one is 2 inches. And when I do the long strips, sometimes I do novelty, but this is where I like to add in some of my solids or Reed's Lake solids. Now this salmon colored one is really long. This one measures, oh, probably about 22 inches long. I will use it, but I try not to go with more than this. A lot of times if it's like the whole length of a width of fabric or a yard or something like that, I'll just take my scissors and I'll take the long ones and I'll just cut them in half. That way I can use this in the center of my project, and then later on when the blocks get bigger, I can use this in the next section so that all the center parts aren't the same color. And then when I take them, I can take this piece and I can put it on short side on or long side. I find that building the crumb blocks, the hardest is in the beginning. It's going in my face now. It's out until midnight. I'm out of practice. Uh-oh. So I'll just take that one, put on some headphones, listen to an audiobook, put on some YouTube videos. Now this block came to me like this. And what I like to do is I will take mine and I go through phases. I will do a whole bunch where I do all the cutting and all the sewing, and I do all the pressing and all the cutting, and then I do again. And I probably work on at least, at minimum, 10 blocks at a time, but most times I'm probably working on 40 or 50 of them. Now you can do it with a ruler, like I just did, or you can just take it and you want to, for me, I want a semi-straight line. This one is sticking out 1/4 inch wider than this one, so I'll just take that and whack that off. Now here we go. I get a lot of comments. Some people will save these and put them in pin cushions and pillows and dog beds. Yes, I throw mine away. I can't save everything. I can't do something with everything. You know what you can do, Marie, too, is you can get, there's certain, like, you can get, like, what, a gift card, like a Visa card or something, and then you can pay with that, because my PayPal accepts credit cards. So if you had, I'm 90% sure that you can take a Visa gift card and pay for things through my PayPal account and most others that allow you, so that way you have, it's a secret. Now some banks will give you a one-time use number for like a debit card number so that you can make your purchase and then that number never exists again. So you can do, for me, you can do, I accept post office money orders because those are guaranteed that they're generally true, but I still have to cash it at the post office to verify it before I mail anything. Checks that have to clear my account before I'll mail anything. And then different forms of PayPal, whether it's a direct bank transfer or it's a credit card or debit card or whatnot. Some people, I have one lady that is determined to send me cash, which makes me nervous every time in the mail. But yeah. I've got my bag now to save those tiny pieces. I'm not saving any tiny pieces, Sue. Yeah, it's really hard. Banking online or purchasing things online can be very difficult, but there are other options. So I'm going to, now that I have a straight enough line here, I'll just add this piece. I'll say, oh, well, okay, I have Let me go dig in here. And I have another fun piece, so I can decide to put it this way or on any side. If I happen to have, sometimes I'll have one long strip where I had two, when I had two fabrics sewn together and they were left over, I just happened to find them like this. I'll just take my rotary cutter and just cut different chunks out of it in different widths for variety. So if I look at this, I say, okay, well there's a seam right here. Well, let me add it this way. And I just keep sewing like this until the pile behind me is so big that it keeps coming up into my machine and getting in the way. Or if my back starts to hurt a little, then I'll stop and I'll come over and I'll cut them all apart and I'll give them a good pressing and trim them up. And then when I have a larger, wider piece like this, maybe I want to take some of my blocks that I already have been sewing together. I have all of these different ones. Maybe I want to make these a little bit bigger because I want to get them up to at least 6.5 inches. So I always keep my ruler nearby so I can see how close I am. And it'll also tell me that I need to add at least 3 inches down this way and then maybe 4 inches that way. And it helps me figure out if I want to turn it this way or that way. But since I have these two going this way, I'm going to put it on the short side. And I am very, very random. Now I'll try not to put a block that has this fabric in it onto this strip, but otherwise I'll just keep sewing. I already put this one that way, so I'll turn it this way with the flowers. Since these came to me, a lot of them were sewn together, as I said, in a long strip, so I just chopped them. So there's going to be a little bit. I don't mind having 2 of them right here. Fabric scraps are either stuffing, fiber art, or trash. Exactly. Whatever works for you, Becky. Now, I've heard some people have a compost pile that it's cotton fabric, so they put it into their compost pile. I don't have that here, and I know I wouldn't take care of a compost heap, so I don't have one. But some people will throw their fabric in there. Yeah, you can. What I would do, Marie, is whatever you feel comfortable with. If you want to practice, let me know, and we can talk through some practicing. Like you can send me 5 cents through PayPal. You're like, if you're going to send a gift, and then you'll see if it goes through with whatever you choose to use. Because PayPal will tell you right away, no, crazy lady, that's not going to work. So you can do things like that too, just to test it out. But you should be able to go onto PayPal and it'll tell you what you can and can't pay with and such. Now some people might say if I put the dog prints on there, it's light on light, but I don't care as long as the entire block isn't light. So as I said, I would just keep on going and going and going. Keep a little, this is not my permanent Crumb container, but I love these little gray bins. I've really been getting into the gray ones versus the bright colors, which is unusual for me. But I like this to be my working projects. Like I can put all of my crumbs in here, and these are all of my blocks that are getting bigger. And then this is just my mess. This is an actual crumb container that's just full of stuff that I could use. And as I get going, when this pile is done, I might grab another handful and bring it over. But I try not to go, I only want to put, on this one, I only want to put purple blocks. So let me dig through and find something purpley. No, I might go and look at this and say, okay, this is already 6.5 inches. So I can get another one just like this. If I have one, but I don't see one. Okay, so here I have one here. And I could say that these two are about the same length. So I could decide which fabric I want to sew together. So let me see. I try to do, if I have a wide fabric here and a narrow fabric, I try to put a wide and a narrow. I don't like to put 2 wides because then you get a lot of that same fabric. So while these are just starting out and they're just baby crumbs, I'm just going to match it at the top and then go ahead and sew this together. Yeah, one day we can try it and figure it out. If you fall in love with something you see that you absolutely got to have, then we'll figure it out and we'll get it to you one way or the other. Yeah, I don't do, when do I press? When this pile gets nice and big, I'm going to show you in a couple minutes on how I do it, but when this pile gets so big that as I'm sewing, it keeps coming up here because my table's, that blue right there is my wall. So when I have all kinds of baskets and stuff here where I keep things organized, so when this is only have about this much room for me to put things behind me, so when this starts getting full like this, or as I said, when my back starts to hurt and I need to get up because I've been sitting here too long, then I'll go ahead and I'll press it. Oh, I just sew this. If there's extra fabric on the end, I just sew past it. I'm using good thread, but I'm not using expensive fancy thread that I have crafting thread and I have quilting thread. And I wouldn't want to use my really good expensive quilting thread that I like to quilt with just to sew together these crumb blocks. Oh, all right, let me show you before we get really sewing into it in case any of you have to leave for whatever reason. Let's just go ahead and check this out. Let me push myself out of the way here without knocking things on the floor. Wake up the iron. So I sew sitting down, and then I stand up, give myself a new position for comfort of my body and also for just being in a different position, because I could sew for 4 or 5 hours doing these blocks and stuff like that. I have the little Sunflower Quilts Fat Quarter Shop, the little seam cutter here. It's got that little blade in it, like a razor blade, because they're crumbly. So you can just take it like this and in between all of those strips. Some people will take this and they'll take it over and press it, but I have a problem with that because I find it easier to go in between. See, I remembered not to yell in your ear. I like to go in between. I just take my scissors and I go in between and I cut them. And I find it's easier to press just this one little piece here than that long string. Yeah, Stephanie, it's perfect for that. Things that don't have that much on it. For your bobbins that are almost empty. And let me show you my bobbin situation. You'll probably understand now why I need to have so many. So these are my basic ones. This is the Connecting Threads Essential line of thread that I use all the time. So I try to have one of everything in here, and as you can see, I'm running low. This is I keep my neutrals. I need to buy more white thread. I don't have any. I wrote non 100% cotton, which probably wasn't the best wording for it, but there's that. And this just happens to be thread that I was working on in a project that I want to keep here, and there's some embroidery thread in here. But I might come in and I could see that this bobbin right here, there's not much thread left on it. If I were to try to, I couldn't quilt with this whatsoever. And so in the past, I would put this in a little container, a little like Tupperware container, and I'd pull that out when I was doing my crumbs. So I'd go ahead and sew with this for a while. So then that would be empty. So then I'd pull out, well, this pink one doesn't have much on it either. So I would sew with that for a while. And that's just the way I do it. Like this brown, if I'm going to be sewing with this, I can already see the plastic right there. So it's not going to get me very far when I'm sewing. So that's why I like to rotate through all of those bobbins, because otherwise you've got to pull it off and pull it off and pull it off and then put it in the trash, or if you're like me and you're saving it for an art project in your little container. We'll get there eventually. So then I have these, so I lay it down like this, and I just take my scissors and I chomp it right in between. See wherever they are. We're not going for perfection here because we're just working with scraps. There really isn't a way to mess up. If you did something and you accidentally cut it, like you went, oops, I cut that. Oh, what am I going to do now? Well, now you're going to have 2 blocks. Well, here, let's mess it up. If I'm cutting with my rotary cutter or I'm just cutting with a ruler or whatnot, I go, oh no, it was a 6.5 inch block. It was perfect. What am I going to do? Well, now I'm going to have 2 blocks. I can either spin it around and sew it back together, or I can just wait and add more of these onto it. So when I get to this point, I think I mentioned this last week, but this is like the messiest I ever am when I'm crafting. I don't like to have all of this stuff everywhere. It drives me crazy. So I don't want to iron on my wool mat and on my pressing mat. So let's slide y'all down a little. I have a towel underneath my pressing mat. Now the one I have over on the desk, it fills the desk. It's a big long one like this. It's like 17 by 20 something or another. Oh, okay, let me show you that, Sue. I do have that. I do save small pieces for my art projects. I have my thin bits for art quilts that have these in it. But I'm trying to only save like solids and things that read as a solid, so I don't save a lot of the little bit of chunks of, you know, just everything. I have a bag just of gray in here and stuff. These are going to get turned into some type of a collage project, which is totally separate but could be combined with my threads. One day I'm going to sit down and actually get to have some fun. Okay. I am a steamer. I love steam. I put water in my iron. This is the second time I've bought this iron. I love it so much. It's another Amazon purchase. I think I had the last one for 5 years. I stack, let me see, because I'm working like this on my big mat, and I just put my stack over here on the left-hand side where you can't see it. So I stack them up like this. Okay. And then I just take my iron in one hand, and as I'm watching TV, I just give it a nice little press. Sometimes I set the seam, sometimes I don't. And I just sit here and I go through them one by one. As I'm doing this, once I get going, I'm going to have different sizes. So I will take the smaller sizes. I'm sold. Take my money. What did someone buy? Ooh, hold on. Okay, guys, tell me, Ladybug, what did you buy? What did you buy? Yeah, Stephanie, I have probably 50 containers. So this one is, it's palm size. So I'm going to make a pile for my palm size ones. And when I have the larger pieces like this, I try to press them so that I'm putting a solid piece of fabric that's not pieced on top, so that I can press that way, where I wouldn't press these to all of the colors. I'd rather press it to a full strip. So then I'll put these in this pile. So as I get going, as I'm starting to sew them together and creating more and more, I'll know which piles to go from. Like, I'm not going to pick these up automatically to sew when I know I need to bring these up to at least the 6.5 inch size. And these that only have 2 little pieces of fabric, dark side, light side, it doesn't matter. They'll get their own little pile because they really need to be built up into a larger piece. So this way I could be building up 25 blocks at the same time in various sizes, and I just sort my blocks as I go. It just makes it easier for me to decide on which ones to grab next. Oh, the little thread cutter thing. Oh, I love that thread cutter thing. It is one of my favorite tools. Yeah, this guy, it just, when you're doing some type of chain piecing, it makes it so quick. And they come in so many various things. There's a new one out. Have you guys seen? It's shaped like a flower. And you take your old rotary cutter blade and you put it in this flower petal thing. And then it sits in a stand like this, so that the blade is sticking out of inside. You have the flower petal, and down here is a blade, so that you can just take it on your old rotary cutter blade and use that as your thread cutter. I thought that was ingenious. Whoever came up with that was brilliant. Hi, Phyllis. Okay, so I have these, and I would have piles. It would probably take me a half hour or 45 minutes to get through with this phase between cutting them and pressing them. So then I would take my little piles. I keep myself semi-organized. Oh, that's not for a long-term thing. I could feel the dampness on the table. This is not a good, I mean, it's a brand new table-ish. I bought it just for the craft room. So it's not like I'm doing it on my dining room table, but I do want to keep it lasting as long as I can. Yes, right? That's brilliant. Jody, I've done that in the past, and it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. You have to generate a certain amount. Oops, sorry. Or Amazon will kick you out of the club, so to speak. And when you do, you get such a small amount. We're literally talking pennies, pennies. Someone might spend $200 and you might get a quarter, or someone might spend $5, you might get a penny. And while it's great that everyone wants to help out that way, the effort of me having to link everything up and go through all that process and get it to work, it's just not worth it for me. But I do appreciate anyone wanting to help that way. So then I take my piles. I'm like, okay, I don't, like I said, I don't even think about it. I'm just like, okay, here's my piles. My biggest thought is, oh, what pile do I want to work with next? I tend to, Teresa, you should be using up your scraps. Yes, ma'am. You can do this in color families too. You can do it only in, oh, sorry, I got the light shining off the tablet. If you want to do just rainbow colors, like you can do all red scraps and just piece them all together until you get to the size you want. And then you can decide, like when they do the string blocks, you can decide what you want to turn it into afterwards. You can just sit here, yeah, linking it and making sure the links are good, because if you don't go to an actual Amazon and you go to a private shop, like I had a storefront on Amazon at one point. I mean, it's still active, it's just nothing in it. So if I closed out my shop, then it would be no longer good. So I had to be very special about where I do. Hi, Krista. Laundered cotton. I thought about that. I didn't know. Does Amazon? Let me make a list. Does Amazon do wish lists like that? If they do, that would be fun. Oh yeah, I have wish lists. I don't have them public for everyone to see. So let me see if let me write that down, see if I can make a wish list that is for you guys to see. I have notebooks everywhere. Then you guys can not only just purchase, but if you guys want to tell me, hey Robin, I saw this on your wish list and it's on sale here, check it out. Because I never expect anyone to purchase anything. If you guys send me anything, I'm always totally thrilled and happy and excited. Yeah, I think I have to make one that's not private and then put the link down there. For my closest 100 friends, right? My closest 100 friends. All right, so I have to look at this and I go, okay, well, here's my smallest ones. Oh, we didn't trim anything, guys. I got talking. I get chit-chatting. So my next step would be to trim them. And again, I like to have straight edges. I don't sit here and go, this needs to be exactly 2x4. I just look at it and say, okay, there's a big chunk there. I just slap my ruler down and I cut that one off, spin it around. If I cut it at a little angle, it's okay. If I cut it perfectly straight, hoorah for me. So that I have that one. And I just go through my piles and I look. If they're good and they don't need to be trimmed, maybe I only need to trim up one side. And I do trim that just a little bit off because I find for me that I do have issues with that little bit. Plus it bulks up your seams. Your crumb blocks are already full of seams anyway. Yes, we are going to turn these into, now, I kind of figured you guys would want the first live stream in March. We're going to be doing those little baskets, the quilted baskets with the fabric strip across it. I have that set up for March 6th, which is the first Saturday of March. I didn't want to bump that out of the line because I figured you guys would really want to work on that. So on March 20th, exactly a month from today, we are going to turn these into a project, or at least start one. So that gives you guys plenty of time to work on it. If you decided today you didn't want to sew, but maybe later on you might. And once I show you the project, maybe you'll be all excited. You'll be like, oh, that does look like fun. And I just keep going through. This is definitely a process, because if you only make a couple at a time, then you're going to be in and out quick. But I'm never looking to finish all of my blocks at once. Put in the table so it's yours. Sorry if it's not appropriate because it's off topic. what she's doing was, anyone tried to make the handled bags out of feed bags? I've seen them like where they do them out of dog food bags too. Yeah, March 20th, we're going to turn this into a project. March 6th, we are definitely going to be we're going to sew live, and we're going to make that fun basket. Now, since this one was already a little bit off, I got to trim off 3 sides to make it even. And if I don't want to, I can just take, if you want to practice your let's relax and not be too OCD and not be perfect, I put my left hand behind my back, I don't know why, just so I don't touch the ruler, and I can go like that. It's not a perfectly straight line, but I've given myself, it's not a squared line, but I've given myself a straight line and so on. That block is a bit wonky and all, but look, I just made a fun little block. And I can do that and not, I still put my hand behind my back, I'm so silly. And it kind of helps me relax and not be all crazy lady about having it to be perfect. I accidentally cut into it, so I just trimmed it up some more. Slippery, I would imagine. But it would be good for maybe going to the beach or something, so if you want to put some, oh, slippery to sew. Yeah, I think it'd be really good if you're going to do some heavy duty shopping or to take to the beach or something like that. And this also, if you have a spinning mat, that helps, but I don't know, I don't like my spinning mat. I'm not used to it. I end up having the spinning mat and I still spin the block around. Now this one is a little bit larger, so maybe I want to pay a little more attention. And even though it's larger than my block, I might square up this side nicely, knowing that it might be the edge of my 6.5 inch block. Now I have small pieces in here, just from the fact of cutting up. Now if you think this is too wide and you don't like it because you like small crumbs, you can take this block and cut it right in half here. I like mine to be bigger and chunkier, but I will show you. You can just grab it, cut it in half here. So now when you sew it together, you won't have all of that flower fabric hitting you in the face like you would here. You're just gonna have that little bit after the seam allowance. So I think that works out really good. It's kind of one of those projects that works well for everyone's brain, unless you're really, really OCD and not into it. Squirrels. I've seen some projects where they like take grocery shopping bags and they iron them down and they turn them into that heavy duty sturdy fabric like that. So I think it'd be a lot easier to start out with a feed bag or something if you have them. I saved my dog food bags for a little bit, but then I thought, nope, that's just Robin trying to do everything. I never used them, but I just had a collection of dog food bags. Normally I keep a trash can right next to my sewing table, so as I'm sewing, as I'm trimming these up, I can just slide them right off the table. But you guys are basically sitting where my trash can goes. And then this is what my trash can looks like. Someone had, when they sent me a lot of these different triangle ones, and okay, so I threw a bunch of these away, and then I do things like this, and I go through and I'm like, oh wait, I really like that dog there, so let me trim this up. Oh, I'll trim it at the seam allowance here so that I can still use this fun fabric. And there I've got another piece for my crumb blocks. But I do throw away all of these little bits like this. I don't save it. And as you see, I do go back in. This is a fleece, so I didn't use that, or a flannel. So I have been known to sit there and all of a sudden notice something in my trash can and pull it back out. Like this one has a large piece. I could trim that off if I wanted to. So yeah, we all have our own little bit of crazy that we do here and there. How big of pieces would you make? When you get to your finished blocks, Sue, you can make them, if you're going to do placemats with me, I would say let's keep them, I mean, I originally said you can go up to the 9.5 inches, and you can, because what we're doing, we can get several different circles out of that 9.5 inch block. I'd say at least 6.5 inches is a good size to start with, but you can go down to maybe 4, 4.5. We don't need that 1/2 inch. I say 6.5 because my ruler is 6.5 inches. So then we're going to take and we're going to cut a circle out of it. Maybe we can cut a circle here, and we cut a circle here. And then not only are we going to use the circles, but we're going to use the negative space too. So we're going to use all of our block up. But if you're going to work on a mini quilt, a lap quilt, I would make all the way up to, I think you can get away with a couple 12-inch blocks. But I think if you want to say, Robin, just tell me a darn number, crazy lady, I'd say make a bunch at 6.5 inches. And you don't need that many. If you're going to applique like I am, you could probably get away with 5 or 6 of them at the most. Yes. What's in my trash can video? I have separate trash cans. I have my quilting fabric type trash can, and then I have my regular trash can with a flip top lid. What's in this one? Oh, this one has got things like a plastic wrapper from a package, and when I mailed out fabric postcards, it had all of those bits and pieces. Oh, Stephanie's changing out her laundry. We'll be here. Oh yeah, there could be crazy stuff in the trash can. I have a video that I have to edit because Miss Mocha got into my trash can. Or I put it up on, I think I put it up with my patrons maybe. Yeah, so if when my patrons are here, did you see one with Miss Mocha in the trash can? I did that. She's just crazy. Bathroom break. We'll be here. I'm just going to go ahead and take my blocks. As I said, I would have a bigger pile of these. Lots more of them, at least 25 or more. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, do I want to sew this to this? I don't mind if the seams line up. I'll go ahead and nest my seams, and this one can be a perfect little block where everything lines up nice and neat, even if the size isn't exactly the same. I try to pick one of the fabrics on top, and then if there's a jagged piece on the bottom sticking off to the side, I just follow the seam on the top so that it is nice and straight there. If your seam allowance is a little less than 1/4 inch, it's going to be perfectly fine. I know it was a joke, Stephanie, but hey, while we're here, someone watching the replay may say, oh, I wonder what is in Robin's trash can. Because I know when I watch videos and someone says something, I'm like, huh, now that you said it, I'm kind of curious, what is in that person's trash can or whatnot? If I want to put these two pieces together, I see that this fabric has a lot of fabric on the side, so I could position it and then just trim off that extra. I don't mind doing that. Some people would take that extra and turn it into a new block. I'm going to put it in my trash can of wonder. And it's going to go out to the trash man. Then I could take my larger pieces, as I said, since I have 2 of these. I don't want to sew these together. But I can sew these together, and I can say, as I'm going and I'm getting to the final stages, I see, okay, I need a little bit piece here to make it large enough. So I would say I would need probably a piece about 2 inches. What do I make with the crumb blocks? Anything I darn well please. Whatever makes me happy. I've made drawstring bags, I've made tote bags, zipper pouches. My favorite is my curtain. When I put the playlist down below, the last thing I made, I showed off the curtain in my craft room that I just absolutely love, seeing all the bright colors. And I just go through my pile that I worked on yesterday. I have some smaller bits and some larger bits, and I might just go ahead and stitch them together. I might say, ooh, that's a lot of blue, so I might skip that one. And I just hold them together and say, do they work? Do they fit? This one is shorter than that one, but I'm only cutting off all of that same piece of, I call it a solid piece of fabric because there's no seams, not that it's a solid color. So I'll go ahead and sew these together. In March, on March 20th, we are going to do a fun applique project. What I like to do with this channel, one second, I gotta get a drink. What I love about this channel is when I show you guys something simple, like a crumb block, and then you take it and you turn it into something of your own. My crumb curtains are amazing. I want to make a shower curtain with them too. But you guys take these and you're like, okay, Robin's going to show me how to do circles with the crumb blocks. But then you guys turn it into, I show you like, this is like a B level project, not a B plus, not a B minus, just an average project. I don't want to have a C because I think it's more than a C. Then you guys take it and you knock it up to an A plus plus project by turning it into something really crazy and creative. You can sew stuffed animals out of this. Laura Lynn from Mom and Pop just made her version and she turned it into a draft dodger. I was talking to someone else about that the other day, that it'd be perfect for a draft dodger. And then all of a sudden her video popped up. I thought it was perfect timing because I was just talking about it. Playmat. If you want to make quilts for the shelter for the dogs and cats, these are perfect for them because you're using your leftover bits and it's not... You don't want to work on a project and use all a bunch of white fabric, spend a lot of money, a lot of time and effort for a dog to lay on it. Yeah, I like, many of my windows just have sun blocking and heat blocking curtains on them, and then I have like this one, I have got the sun blocking curtain, then I've got my crumb curtain on top, so the light still kind of comes through and I can see it shining through of all of the different colors and everything, so that's really fun. This one here, I have this little piece and these large bits, so I want to sew that little piece onto a block somewhere so that if I have to come by and trim it, I'm not trimming off half of that. So if I have to trim this one, I'm going to trim on all of these full pieces of fabric. So I'll put this one over to there. Again, I'm just sitting here. I've been re-listening to all the Harry Potter movies and then watching them on Peacock, or I'll put YouTube videos on with headphones so I can hear. And I just sew away. You can set yourself up. Victoria Finley Wolf, many, many years ago, taught us about 15 minutes of play, where you just sit down and you sew for 15 minutes, and what you get done, you get done. You put it into your little containers and set it off to the side, and the next time you have 15 minutes, you go ahead and pick it up and keep working on it. This isn't usually a main project. This is something that you work on little by little, and when it gets done, it gets done. If you're just sewing with me and we're just making a few things for a project, now I could say, ooh, there's a lot of stars together. I don't like that. Well, I'm just going to turn it this way too. And I don't mind the stars being together. Because look, this is a whole continuous row of stars right there. And when we're sewing this small, it doesn't really matter. If you really want to be crazy and practice, let's say you're someone who has either OCD or a bit of OCD tendencies, cut up a whole bunch of pieces of fabric. You can have 2.5-inch strips. Cut yourself some 2.5-inch squares. I'd have a brown paper bag with my strips, a brown paper bag with my 2.5-inch squares, and then I would have a brown paper bag, a little lunch bag with 2.5 by maybe 4 or 5.5-inch rectangles. So to work on your, I can't just reach in and grab something, so you grab a long strip out, and then you grab something out of your 2.5-inch square pile and put that on it. And then it doesn't matter, just grab it out. If it's the same exact color, you're allowed to go back in. I allow myself to go back in that bag once. If you want, you can allow yourself up to 3, but after that, then you're fighting your OCD again. So whatever you pull out, that's what's going to work. And then I'll go into my rectangle bag and I'll pull out a rectangle and I'll just put that on, and I'm not going to think about it. It is what it is, and it helps me to, my brain doesn't think. If I give myself 3 seconds to think, I'm going to think about something, I'm going to stress out about it, I'm going to be worried, I might cry, I might yell. So if I just take this, it helps me relax. I can't not be creating. I have to be sewing or crocheting or knitting, embroidery. I have to do something. So that's what I do. I just allow myself to do whatever it is. So whatever comes out, comes out. When I'm doing it this way, I do take into consideration how it might fit together. So if I can put these two together, they work together nicely, I'll just sew those together. It's so scrappy, it's not going to matter. And if you can't do those brown paper bags and go totally scrappy, put only, like I said, just pull out all your blue fabrics. You know if they're all from the same fabric line or if they're all blue, they're going to work together. So just make a blue block. Now maybe next time you want to try again. So what color do you think goes with blue? Maybe you're in America and your head's just full of red, white, and blue. So you can have blue fabrics. Then maybe you want to work with some red fabrics so you can put blue and red together. And you're going to help expand your brain a little and let it think in a different way. And if this truly bothers you at all, then don't make them. It's okay. We don't all have to make crumb blocks. There's plenty of other things we can do. When we work on the project next month, if you don't want to make crumb blocks, you can make 4 patches or 9 patches. I've done a really fun project. Well, I did half of a fun project with 9 patches. Yeah, Harry Potter's my timer. I do things like if I'm watching TV in the living room, I know like the Big Bang Theory is a half an hour. Well, I'm going to do this for 1 episode of Big Bang. I watch the news for an hour, I'm going to do this for 1 hour, and then I can stop. So if I'm going to clean the living room, I can do it in the amount of time between the commercials or something like that. So you can do, I did a 9 patch where I cut them out of a circle and then I applicate them onto different colored squares. Well, that's the thought process. It hasn't gone there yet. It's still sitting over in the bin. But you can do things like that if you don't want to do crumbs, because crumbs isn't for everyone. And it's okay. I don't do paper piecing with all the 35 little pieces in a 6.5-inch square. But some of you guys love that. That's just not quite for me. Yeah, don't feel crumbly. All right, so before we get, I'm not going to stay too long for you guys. I'm going to let you guys go a little bit after 1-ish. Do you have any questions about the crumbs and what we're going to work on next month? You guys can ask me as the weeks go by before we get to that point. I will probably do a quick separate video of this is the project that I'm going to work on next month during the live if you guys want to do it with me, and here are the details. So it's a total separate video. But I want to make sure before I just dump you guys later on that, let me see, I had one more thing I wanted to show you. Not in there. Look, I have a half square triangle. I can use that in my crumbs too. I can just take that and I can add that onto a piece of fabric anywhere. See, it doesn't fit. This one I want to kind of fit into somewhere that it's going to match up. I can add it onto here to lengthen this one. So I can use that up. You're going to have a lot of seams. You're going to have a lot of seams. You're going to have a crazy amount of seams in these projects. I can't take my curtains down to show you, but there's a lot of, you can see that you're going to start sewing all these together. Oh, thanks, Ladybug. We are live on the 1st and 3rd Saturday of every month at noon. So if you want to come back and catch us on the With It Wednesday prior to the live, I try to get on there and remember to tell you what's happening and what we're going to be working on that week. So you can plan ahead, and if you want to sew with us and do what we're working on, or if you prefer to do your own thing, you can do that too. We don't mind people going off and doing their own thing because we're all sitting together and being creative and spending this one moment of time where I've talked to several of you and you guys are like, you hang out with me for that hour or two. No trash can tour, no. You saw what's in the trash can, that's it. Stephanie, we're just kind of winding it down. I'm not going to be going on for very long today. Just wanted to show you guys and give you a remember of how to do the crumbs. I will put the playlist in the description. And make sure if I have to redo the video again, like I've done the last couple of lives, that you guys will be able to find it easily. And I will try to remember to put whatever I can down at the bottom, whatever you guys have asked for. I'll work on that wish list to put down there also. I don't have much of the brain space today to carry on a conversation, as you may notice. But, yeah. These are all just looking to be pressed. showed you last week, showing how you use paper. Oh, we're going to do more of the calculator strips. We are definitely going to be doing more. I was thinking that this is my first intro into the Crumb concept with quilting. Fascinating. Thank you for the live today. Thank you so much, Catherine, for hanging out with us. We are going to, I don't know if you caught it earlier, but I'm going to be doing at least one tutorial a month that deals with scraps like this. Not just making little wallets or making little, I've made a lot of zipper pouches with scraps, so we're going to try to broaden it out. And I think what I want to do is, shorter, longer, doesn't matter. Thank you, Stephanie. I want to, since it was mentioned about the placemats, let's do a placemat a month type thing. Like, how can we take the scraps that we made and turn them into this project, whether it's a table runner, a set of placemats, or a mini quilt or a lap quilt. So let's take what we learned here. Thank you, everyone. So let's take what we learned here, because if you can make a placemat, you can just make 20 of these and turn them into a quilt. You know, you can broaden that concept out. I give you guys the basic idea and let you into, I watch so many creative, crafty videos that I see this person making crumbs, and I saw this person making this. They made houses with the, you know, I saw, okay, I got a crumb here, and then this person is making houses. Well, why can't I make the crumbs and put them inside my house or have a crummy roof? And then with the calculator strips, I want to show you guys an idea. Again, I watched 12 videos, and everyone did something, and my brain went ding, ding, ding. Long? No, we're not long today. And I like the idea, oh, Jody said long, okay. I like the idea, so I took them all together, and instead of having to peel the papers off, I think I have a way that we can do quilt as you go with our little calculator type strip things like this. So I think I got an idea of how we can do quilt as you go and then add it in with other parts of blocks and stuff. So I think placemats is just going to be the quickest way to do it. All of us can make it, and then for those of you that are struggling, we can do free motion quilting. We can do quilt as you go. We can do straight line quilting. I have never done clamshells or feathers or anything like that, but if we want to learn those types of techniques, we can learn those too. This isn't technically a placemat. This is a mini quilt from a doll quilt swap. You can make doll quilts. That's fun too. So anything like this size, we can be brave enough to quilt something like this. We can create the pieces that go in here. We can learn about putting borders on. I still want to show you guys how to miter a border. And for my patrons, they want to know how to put hanging sleeves and pockets and how to deal with mini quilts like that. So I'm going to do that over on Patreon. So we can learn how to free motion in a little thing like this that measures, what do we measure here? Oh yeah, 16. I think most placemats are 16 by 19, so thereabouts. We can learn how to free motion on this. And guess what? If we don't do a good job, is it going to matter? We'll put the dog food bowl down on it. The dog's not going to care if the back of your free motion quilting doesn't look that good. They're just going to be happy to have something fun. Just need to give new topics to talk about. Yeah. So we're going to find out a few different things. We're going to figure it out as we go. As anytime anyone has any types of questions, put them in the comments. Email them to me. I will make a running list. I have 3 separate notebooks that aren't all organized. I have gotten much better. I'm putting all my ideas in one notebook, so I may not get to it right away unless it's something that's really exciting and it fits in with what I've already got going, because I'm trying to do all of my videos ahead of time so that I don't have to sit here and rush on Thursday afternoon to get a video up for Friday, because that's just stressful and driving me crazy. So I like having the videos done ahead of time. Thanks, Betty. I like having, like, I mean, we call it Robin style and Robin's craziness and stuff, but it's just, it works for me in the way my brain works. And I got a twisted seam, so I'll just go ahead and press that so it lays nicely. I can't stress out. Life is stressful enough, and stress is not good for you, so I'd rather my crafting be something relaxing. And I find that I love, in the beginning I couldn't match colors, so doing all scrappy kind of works for me. So that way I don't have to worry. I don't have to worry about the seams matching. I don't have to worry about colors going together because there's just such a mess that it all works out in the end. Can you make something ugly? Sure you can. But Bonnie Hunter says just cut it up smaller and it'll be fine. So if we make something ugly, I've shown a video before with the crumb blocks, I believe, where I turned them into half square triangles. So I have my crazy triangle part over here, my half of my square, it's all crummy and a mess, and then I put like a white fabric over there, and it just calms it all down so it doesn't look like your fabric drawer just spit up all over, you know, your project, and it just looks like a giant mess. We can calm it down with other fabrics. We're the scrappers. We are something, I tell ya. Oh, and I have one more thing I wanted to tell you guys about. I have a totally random situation. It's all about this still, but random. Many of you get really excited when I send you fabric postcards, and or you've won them in the past, and you're like, I still have them, Robin. I love it and stuff. And I love to do giveaways, but sometimes, of course, they can be very expensive to ship them. Or it's a thing where I stress out because of the time commitment, like I have to remember, pick a name, and did they give me their address and stuff. So what I'm going to start randomly doing, scrap rescue organization. Wide open zipper pouches, those are really nice. I'm going to take the baskets and turn those into zipper pouches. But anyways, back to what I was saying. I am easily sidetracked, of course, because every conversation is fun to join in on. I'm going to start randomly pulling names from the comments, and I will comment on your comment and say, congratulations, you've won a fabric postcard. Whether it's every video or every few videos or once a month or once every 3 months, I'm just going to go randomly through and say, congratulations, you won a scrappy fabric postcard. If you want it, you can accept it. If you don't want it, you can say, no, thank you, I'm good, and I'll pull another name. And then all you have to do is email me your address if I don't already have it. And then you win a fabric postcard. So do you think that would be fun? Do you guys like just a random drawing for winning like that? A tumbling block quilt. Deirdre, I will add that to my list because I've always loved to do them. I think they have a Y seam, don't they? That's what I was thinking, Marie. It's kind of like nice every now and then just to see. Oh, I can't write and do that. Tumbling. There's one I saw at one point. I couldn't find it. I'll have to look it up again and see if I can find it. But instead of doing the Y seams, there's a way to do the tumbling blocks that there's no Y seam, so it's easier. I have a really hard time with all of that, so we can try. You guys are really nice too, so if I tell you like I'm going to try this for the first time, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, then maybe you guys have learned something and you can tell me what I did wrong. That's what I was saying, Sue. You can make them without them. Yeah, the traditional has the Y seam. First of all, I think it'd be fine to learn a partial seam and a Y seam, and then also on how to do it. So a lot of times I like to do that too. I like to say, okay, this is how we make it traditionally, which doesn't work for me and I can't figure it out and it's confusing. So here, this is how I figured out how to do it in an easier way. And that seems to work well for you guys too. And again, if we're doing placemats, then that's not a whole big quilt, so we can do it in just small chunks. Oh, thank you. The Facebook group is listed down below in the description of all the videos with all kinds of information that you guys might need. If you'd ever need anything else, just send me an email, which is listed down below. The RsIslandCrafts, I tried to list it to where I have a PayPal email and I have a you want to talk to me email. I don't go to my Hotmail very often, so if you ask a question over there, I most likely won't see it. Tumblers, yes. Stephanie, do you remember, I don't know if you guys have this over in Germany, this is what I always related to, the video game Cubert. So he's on this tower, this pyramid of blocks, and they're like, you have to play with the lights and darks, and that's part of it too. I think maybe if I just do a 3-color one so I don't have to worry about shading and darks and lights and stuff, and this is just how it goes. Yes, Ladybug, exactly. I've done giveaways here before. Oh, guys, we are this close to hitting 30,000, I believe it is. Is that where I'm at? I'm thinking I have like less than 30 people to hit. Yeah, I'm at 29.9 thousand subscribers. So check to see if you're subscribed, and if you'd like to and you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so that you guys know when I put out a video. I am definitely sticking with my Whip It Wednesday on Wednesday. We have a tutorial on Friday, and then twice a month on the first and third Sunday we have the live stream. And on the days that there's a live stream, I want to try to put out, like yesterday, you guys loved that scrap video. So on the live stream days, I don't want to do a tutorial on that day unless it's something random or something fun where I can just talk about things. Or some people have asked, I've got a granny square video that needs to be editing. I've got the fabric chosen for a hat that I have misplaced somewhere. Where is it? Oh, here it is, excuse me. People have asked on casting on and knitting in the round, so I have a hat that I'm going to work on, a red work video. So anyways, Wednesdays are always going to be Whip It Wednesday. There will be a video on Friday, and we'll have live streams twice a month. And then randomly, like I'm going to do the unboxing video, so that might just show up on tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday's video. Thanks, Marie. I appreciate that. And because I'm always like, wait, there's one more thing. Hold on, wait, there's one more thing. Let me show you what else I got. I received this as a gift. I saw these on someone else's video. This is from Flamingo Toes. Look at that. It's a flamingo stiletto or turning tool. I haven't opened it yet because I wanted to show you guys first. How exciting is that? I thought this was the best thing. I'm like, eventually I want to look, because sometimes you don't want to just buy one thing. You want to buy extra things so that it makes... They say that they can't travel alone, that you should order more than one thing because it's not fair for them to go in the mail by themselves. Don't worry, these are my non-fabric scissors. They're actually my paper and cardboard scissors. So I was so excited. This was sitting on top of a package that I opened, and I'm like, oh. And then it had scraps, but look at that. Isn't that fun? I thought that was the best thing. I think it's one of those plastic things where you do that 3D printing or something like that. So there's really cute. It says flamingotoes.com on it and everything. So that is a fun. I get to use that now. Easy breezy dishcloth. Yep. Isn't it? I love it. I thought it was the greatest thing. And first of all, I've always loved flamingos, so it's great. And I love pink. Pink is good too. But I'm always looking for some type of a turner. I do use my crochet hook a lot, but this has a point in it, so it makes it a little bit easier, but it's not so sharp that it's going to go through all the fabrics. I need help suggestions. I have boxes of fabric that I inherited. They're all sizes, smaller than fat quarter. Use some for mass, but what should I do? Cut them or leave them? I made yesterday's video about dealing with scraps last year. I had it as a backup video in case I got sick or I wasn't able to get a video out in time. And I should have rewatched it because I don't remember what I said in there. But I remember that I did talk about, it all depends on what you make. What are the projects that you make? Do you make a lot of things that you don't make anything that's smaller than a charm square? You make a lot of 9 patches? Do you do a lot of applique or paper piecing where you need small pieces like this? So you have to figure out what you make the most of and then cut it like that. I have a lot of my fabrics. I have them sorted by color. So I have containers like this, and then I have containers like this, that each container has a color. So I might take these purple and green. These were already sewn together, otherwise they'd be in those bins. I put this one in the purple and this one in the green. And then when I make little project bags, I can go in and pull those out and make something. You can do your ironing, it's okay, thank you. If you do a lot of string quilts, I have these containers. I'm a Dollar Tree freak. I pick things up over time at the Dollar Tree and just slowly build them up. I might only spend $5 a month until I have enough. These are my 1.5 inch strips. Then I can put them, if I'm doing string blocks, I can just pull these out and I know I have my fabrics right there. If you do things with a lot of layer cakes, then you're going to cut them all into 10-inch squares. Yeah, normally I use, okay, here's my stiletto. It's like a size 1 or a size 0 knitting needle. And when you guys see me turn things in the videos all the time, I have a crochet hook that it's a size H, and I use that rounded tip for that. I also have a knitting needle. I believe this is probably a 6 maybe, and that has a rounded tip that's a little bit bigger, so I use that for turning corners. What did I miss? Never saw that flamingo. I need to start knitting some. Oh yeah, I think dishcloths, if you can knit or crochet, then that's something you should keep up with on a regular basis. Yeah, sort them in darks and lights. So it all depends on what you're going to create. If you make everything, you're still going to notice that maybe you make more jelly roll quilts, or maybe you make more charm quilts. Or if you make a lot of stars and the center of the star is always 2.5 inches, or if you make a lot of log cabins, cut your scraps and sort your scraps like that. You don't have to cut everything. As I said, I keep my main colors that read as a certain color. I might have this square in there that's probably, it's 1.5 inches by like 2 inches. And I might also have a piece of fabric in there that's 12 by 15. So I do just sort those by color, and then I sort by other. And it's different for everybody, because I don't traditionally make like traditional quilts. I'm not a modern quilter. I don't do that. I'm just a funky robin. I just do what sounds good and looks good at the moment. But I find that I do a lot of certain things. Panels for attic windows. I've seen those. Those look amazing. PJD, are you suggesting that I do an attic window quilt, or are you suggesting that someone else does it with their fabrics? You know what I do want to make too is that one where you have that novelty fabric and then it has like a black shadow under it. Those look really fun too. I'm almost feeling like I don't really want to make quilts, because I can donate a lot of things to Project Linus, because I now have someone I can send them to. Yes, me do one. I will add it to my list. Because there's a cheating way to do it with half square triangles, so you don't have to make those little seams there. Attic window. Oh, quilt robin, gee. So, but I like the idea of doing placemats and pillow covers, because pillow covers I can put in my shop, and placemats, there's a higher chance of me selling a pillow cover for, I'm just going to make up a number. Let's say, you know, if I sell a pillow cover for $20, $25, or whatever, it's different than trying to sell a quilt for $500. You have a better chance of selling something that's less price. How do I end up with so many scraps? First of all, I was making tons of quilts. I was making a lot of mini quilts and lap quilts, so there's always scraps. And then as I started to get my scraps down, and I've been making more and more for the videos here with string blocks and crumbs and stuff, some people have been very generous and have sent me scraps. So that is part of it too. Like a lot of these, some of these are mine, and then a lot of them are, these are mine, but these are from someone else. So I just combine. I don't even care if I've got the pumpkins and stuff. When you make a quilt and your backing is usually wider, there's some scraps right there. So a lot of times when you're working with a fat quarter and you're trimming it down, you might have a big chunk left over that you didn't use. So scraps are really generated by creating other things. And then when you start sewing with scraps, your scraps will still seem to multiply, because you will cut them, you'll cut your string block, and you'll use a piece this long, but you'll still have a good 6 inches of that scrap strip left. So that goes into your scrap bin. So you're always generating more scraps, even if you're sewing with scraps. You can do the same thing. If you want to decide on a project first and then go into that inherited stash and work that way, or if you, what I usually do is I take anything larger than a fat quarter, fold it up neatly. I have a video on how to fold fabric. I fold that all up and I put it on a shelf. I'm not going to cut down smaller anything that's larger than a fat quarter, because I can use that to make scrappy backings, piece backings for quilts. So anything smaller than a fat quarter, that's what's going to get processed and put into my scrap system. Bonnie Hunter, if you're really not sure on what you want to do, Bonnie Hunter has an amazing blog full of all kinds of quilts you can make, and she has a scrap system where she talks you through on different ones that you can cut. But as I said, it really depends on what you're going to make. You can just cut it all up into 5-inch squares. If you're going to make a lap quilt, cut them all into 5-inch squares and just sew them all together. Or you can make a rail fence quilt, cut them into rectangles, and then just turn that into a quilt. And then you have this next stash. Well, maybe you want to make a queen size quilt. So instead of just cutting 5-inch charms, maybe you want to cut them at 12.5 inches, especially if it's like a big flower print or something. You're welcome. And then you can do it that way. So I would say if you're doing an amazing job that when you finish a project, you cut it into scraps and file it away, whatever you cut those into, you could also cut that. But if you have that inherited stash, you might want to go to Bounty Hunter, tons of scrappy projects, say, oh, I love this one. I'm just going to make a simple checkerboard. So I'm going to take all of the novelty print or all of the flower print from that inherited stash, and I'm going to mix it with this light colored pink or white, and I'm just going to make a checkerboard. And just go from there. Yeah, if scraps come into my house, I'm going to treat them the same. Anything, like I said, bigger than a fat quarter gets folded up and put. And then I do separate. In the beginning, I was separating my stash from the donated stash, but everything has just gotten so mixed up over time that it doesn't really matter anymore. I use all my scraps, and I've used them over the years, but I'm so anal, part of my language, just can't throw them all together. And that's if that works for you. Ladybug, if that's your system, you know what works for you. I don't have any of those types of issues. I may not go to the store and buy, this is not my style of fabric. I love the different brights and the colorfuls. I do love the novelty, but you have to be careful because you can't always do all novelty. But this is not something I would purchase, but I can put the scraps into this project and it all blends together. These are not, you know, kind of like a thimbleberries, is that what it is? That's not my thing, but worked in with my scraps, it all blends together. So when you guys send me things, salmon is definitely not my color. I may like pink and reds and stuff, but not the salmon color. But it works because it's small. You're very welcome. I thought of posting on Facebook Marketplace and asking any sewers in my area if they have scraps, but I don't know if that would be too weird. I don't know. Can you put a request in Facebook Marketplace? I don't know. I belong to a lot of scrappy groups on Facebook. I do know that you can try going into some of the scrapbooks on Facebook after you socialize and get to know a few people and get talking. I wouldn't just go into a brand new group and say, hey, anyone got some scraps they want to send me for free? Or I'll pay shipping if you send it to me for free. But if you get in there and you start showing your projects and you start talking to people and a couple months down the road, you feel comfortable, you can say, hey, I've been looking for some scraps to work on these types of projects. You guys got anything you'd like to send to me? Oh, Bev, that's a great idea. Those like free cycle type places, because a lot of times in the neighborhoods and stuff, like your local, I'd have no problem going into a local Facebook group and saying, hey, I'm looking for a camping chair. Has anyone got one to donate? If I'm just looking for scraps in general, I will go right onto Etsy and I'll just buy some. Like when I wanted some batiks, I just went to Etsy and bought them. I bought some Liberty of London. I can't afford Liberty of London fabric, and Liberty of London's not my fabric of choice, but I wanted to see it, feel it, and play with it and make something for the shop. So I just went and bought some scraps because small little scraps I can afford. Yeah, so I think again, Becky, it's all in what you make. You really have to decide on what, if you analyze yourself. We think we make different things, but in reality, we make the same things over and over again. And we may not make the same design, but we find ourselves using the same pre-cuts, or we cut our fabrics into those same sizes. And that's just the best way to go. I think you went wrong, Ladybug, because you had big piles. You have to go with small piles. Maria, also check your thrift stores. Let me show you what I bought. I buy things, my thrift store, because most people sell everything before they move down to Florida, a lot of the older people. So I bought this fun shirt because I don't know what it's made out of. Oh, it's 100% rayon. But I thought this would make a really fun type of wall hanging or bags or something. My daughter's requested a little something, so I have all of this fun fabric that I picked up for just a couple bucks on sale at my thrift store. You can buy sheets. There's all kinds of things you can find that you can pick up at a thrift store, Goodwill, Salvation Army, whatever you happen to have in your area. Yeah, sometimes a video can simply be you sitting in a pile of fabric trying to figure it out. Look, my video yesterday has got a lot of views. I think it's close to 2,000 views already, that people are just want to know, like, y'all, you're like, what do we do with these scraps? You get so many of them that you're just like, I don't know what to do. So go through, and I'm pretty sure I said it in the video, is just fill up a bin like this. Sort that bin. Look, you've sorted this much fabric. You've done an amazing job, and now you can go have some fun. And then maybe next Saturday morning, you give yourself an hour, set a timer on your phone, put on an hour TV show or a rambling video of mine or something, and then sort another pile of it. And it may take you a while, but you're making progress, and as you're touching it, you're coming up with ideas. Well, oh, I could turn this into, like, I want to make more of these wrist cuffs. And I just haven't done it because I keep forgetting, but I could always take fabric like this and sew it together, and then there's an idea. Oh, wow, I love this. This would look great as the inside of a house for a house block. You just keep the ideas going. I don't mix my fabrics. I have a scrap system set up for my cotton fabrics because I use it the most. And then I'll show you, I have a scrap system for my flannel scraps. I don't work with flannels very much, so here's my entire flannel scrap system. I just take the scraps of flannel that I have and I put them in this container. Now I have no problem. I would mix my fabrics in a project, like if I wanted to make a placemat, and even if I know it's going to be just for the dog shelter or for my kids when they were little to just roll around on the ground and stuff, then I would go ahead and I would just mix them up. But if I'm making a nice quilt that I want to keep for years and years, I tend not to mix them. I don't even mix them in small crumbs like this, like some people do. I know in the past they have, but they do tend to wear out differently. I'm really into these plastic bins. I have one for elastics. I have one for rickracs. I finally found my missing buttons. They were on a bottom shelf below another container of scraps. So yeah, I don't know. You know, if you really want to challenge yourself, you can grab a handful and say, okay, Robin, let's see what we can make out of this. Now that's a huge channel. That's a huge challenge. That's like watching Chopped on the Food Network. And then you can say, okay, I can bring in solids and work with this. So what am I going to do? So maybe I'll make some string blocks. I'll make some crumb blocks. I can make a tote bag. I can make zipper pouches. I can turn it into a pillow cover and just use them up little by little. Check back for my ticker tape video. That one is a really fun one to use for small scraps too. That's the problem, is when we inherit scraps, because they're really not always our style of fabrics and we feel obligated to use them. But you know what, when it comes down to it, if you already have a large stash and you have a lot of scraps, when you inherit stuff, in my opinion, I feel free to pick through and find my favorite fabrics, and then you can donate the rest. You can sell them in bulk lots. You can just do like I do, where I'm filling up any size of a flat rate container. You can find somewhere you can sell that on Facebook Marketplace. Get your money back for the shipping, of course, and then charge a little bit extra for your processing. These like this, when people are buying scraps, I wouldn't just jam them in there. I wouldn't just dump this in, because first of all, you can fit more in if you just lay them flat like I am. And then I would just sell it on the marketplace, or if you have a shop, sell it in your shop. Just because you inherited it, you don't have to keep it unless it has a lot of meaning to you. Exactly, Ladybug. They wear out in weird places. Yeah, so, but if you donate them to someone, if you have a Project Linus or some type of a organization like that in your area, you can donate the scraps to them. And there are many people. There's one, the group that I sent them to out in Texas, all they do is they take all of the other Project Linus people in their little group, and they take all of their scraps and they sew crumb blocks, and the entire quilt is just crumb quilts like that, and they donate that to Project Linus. So you can do that too if you want to donate it to any organization you might have in the area, some type of a quilting community. It all depends on where you live and what's there. How many projects do I work on at one time? I've been told that I'm what's called a topper. I make quilt tops, and then I very seldom get past that, which is great now that I have the connection with the Project Linus in my area. Is really just, it's not good. So I have to mail them somewhere so that I can take those tops that I enjoy making and never finishing and mail them to someone in Texas, and their group will put the backing and the batting and quilt it, and I won't have the expense of mailing a full heavy quilt. So I just half yards or more. Yeah, no, this Project Linus, they take all kinds of stuff. They take your blocks, they take your scraps, they take yarn, they don't care. So I will work on, this project is going to get set aside. I might not work on it for a while. And then I work on a quilt top until it's done, and then it gets set aside. When I'm doing knitting, I like to have a hat, I like to have a shawl, and I like to have maybe dishcloths. I might have a cowl. So each one is a different project, but I might have 5 knitting projects going at once. I have 1 crochet project. So it all depends. Do I have 10 minutes to work today? I have the luxury now, thanks to all of you amazing people. This is my job. 7 days a week, I'm doing this. So I have the luxury of working on something different every day. Let me see if I can find the video on how I was doing my projects before. How I Get So Much Done, I believe is the title. And then I will pull out projects stored in little containers or bags or something. I'm like, okay, for a half hour, an hour, I'm going to work on this project, and then I'll work on the next project. It's what mood am I in? So I always have tons going on. I can't do just one project. If you guys said, Robin, I am challenging you today to only work on one project start to finish, I can do that. I do that with like my fabric postcards. But when it comes to a quilt, I'm like, do I have the batting? Oh, look, I got a piece of backing. Oh, what kind of backing? Oh, I don't want to. And I do a lot of grumbling and sighing because it's not always the fun parts for me. Scrap Vortex, that is one of my favorites. It makes an amazing quilt. And I'm finding the more I work on these things with you guys, the more I learn of what fabrics that I like and what, oh, I hear a motorcycle, I thought it was thunder. What types of fabric, what colors, which designers I enjoy the most, so that I'm able to purchase things that I'm going to use and that make me happy. Scrap Vortex, if that's the one by, Scrap Quilting Mom or something like that. She has, Red Pepper Quilts has a lot of fun scrappy type projects. If you look up the Scrap Vortex, the designer for that, what she was doing, she doesn't blog anymore, but her blog is still there with fun, tons and tons of fun quilts and information. She would work all in 2020, and she'd do all of her projects. And then in the beginning of 2021, she would take the scraps from last year, Crazy Mom Quilts, that's it. Thanks so much, Lucy B. She would take all of those scraps, and then in the next year, in the next first couple months, she would make a scrap quilt out of whatever she made. She made her fancy quilt, and then all the scraps the next year, she'd turn it to something, and that's partly what the Scrap Vortex came from, a way for her to use up. So each year, she doesn't carry scraps over, she uses them up. I can't do that. I mean, I could, but based on what I do and how I do things, I need lots of scraps. To be totally honest with you, I had some of these scraps from you guys, and then I actually went and I pulled out scraps and I cut fabric for scraps. I didn't cut yardage or anything, but maybe I had a 5.5-inch strip and I cut it down into something smaller so that I can make crumbs with you, because I utilize my scraps so well now that to do crumb blocks, I had to create scraps. I've seen a lot of people are doing that, Marie, and I think it's the most brilliant idea. Yeah, she's much more organized than me. But you know what? In the beginning, she wasn't. She learned and taught herself how to become more organized. She started doing the I have to use my scraps from last year because she was being overrun and it was stressing her out and she just couldn't handle it anymore. So she had to come up with some type of system that worked for her. And I'm pretty sure she's the one that taught me how to do ticker tape also, where you just take a solid piece of fabric with your batting and your backing or just the fabric, and then you sew your scraps down, and it's a quilt as you go type of thing, and when you're done, you're done. So it's very, very smart. All right, guys, that's it. Does anyone have any more questions before we go? Well, Ladybug, you could try, what is it, crazy quilts that they used to do, and they'd add velvet, and they'd add buttons and beads, and they'd put the fancy stitches. But you can just get some, I saw there's this crazy quilt paper piecing where you can just sew it down. You can always just take your crazy strips, your scraps, and cut them into strips and rectangles anyways. What's for dinner today? What do I have for dinner? I was so worried about today, and for lunch, I don't know if I have dinner. Oh, Lucy, you're fine. And anyone who comes in late or doesn't want to comment or anything, you guys are fine. You can always catch the replay. It'll come back up eventually. So, Stephanie, I don't have dinner. Worst comes to worst, I have Cocoa Puffs. Because I thought I was buying Cocoa Krispies, and I bought 2 big giant boxes of Cocoa Puffs at Sam's about a month or so ago. I've got peanut butter and jelly. I've got eggs and sausage. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I cooked up a whole bunch of sausage to put in my freezer because I like to have it on little mini pizzas. I like to add it for breakfast burritos. So I think because I have eggs that need to be used up, I'm going to make breakfast burritos for dinner. Oh, that's boring. I'm glad you got them done, Jody, but oh, that's boring. Muesli, is that kind of like oatmeal or grits? I had grits for dinner the other night. Yeah, I try to eat my big meal. I have a very sensitive stomach. I always have. And I do better if I eat my big meal for lunch. I actually had quesadillas, but just open-faced with just a burrito. I made some hummus out of beans I cooked in my Instant Pot, guys. I am like a professional now. I can cook beans in my Instant Pot and not blow up the house. So I put that down and some shredded cheese, put them in the toaster oven, and that's what I had for lunch. And not a good Instagram pic, no. That's why you have to have something fun in the background, Jody, to kind of balance it out. Well, I bought grits because they were only $1, and I've only had savory, and I wanted to see if I liked them in the sweet version, so I made them like my oatmeal. But in reality, I'd rather eat oatmeal. It's slightly healthier because grits is just corn. And if growing up, my grandmother, we used to have corn on the cob for dinner when it was really fresh in the fields in the New York summertime. But she always told me, you got to be careful because you know what they fatten cows and pigs up with before they butcher them, right? Corn. So grits is from corn, and there's like no nutritional value, and it's easy to have too many carbs from it and to pack on the pounds. And now that I'm older, the pounds don't come off as easy. They just kind of stay where they're at. Well, I'm glad we can hang out with you, Marie, and that you can join us. What are grits? It's something to do with the inside of the corn, like the hominy. It's just like a dehydrated type thing. It's interesting. It's a really big southern thing. They have it with shrimp and stuff like that, but I don't like the savory version. I just put this doesn't make it any healthier where you put a little maple syrup, a little butter, and brown sugar, and there you go. Ooh, rice grits. Weelicious has, I follow Weelicious for many, many years. First her blog and now on Instagram. Speaking of rice, she does a rice cake, which is kind of like a crab cake, where she takes old brown rice, well, leftover brown rice, and turns it into like a rice cake. I thought it was first like one of those crunchy rice cakes you have for a snack, but it's more like a potato pancake type thing. And it was really good. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to hit the stop button. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Don't forget to come back. On the 6th of March, we are going to we're going to work on that scrappy basket. On Friday the 26th, next Friday, you're going to get the basic outline and how to make it plain. And then we're going to do the scrappy version with the fun colored strips across of it on March 6th at noon. Plan on at least a 2-hour video that day because we are going to do it start to finish. If you have any questions, after you watch that video on the 26th, write down your questions, put them in the comments if you have them, because when I start working on them on the 6th, I know this has happened in the past. I'm going to get so involved in teaching you that I'm not going to see the comments. So if you know you're going to have any questions ahead of time, it'd be best if you ask me on that video. In 81 on our way to Florida, I had the best, yeah, they do some really good grits. I just didn't like them with the shrimp and stuff. All right, guys. Enjoy what's left of your weekend. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.